printing some the signs as well as some golf cart decoration materials. So we pull off and grab those for right now. I appreciate it. And we'd like to start off the meeting with a moment of silence for Renee Good, who was shot by ICE in Minnesota. Thank you. You never know, it could have been any of us. I'd like to start off the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to start off the meeting. Bob, did you want to make an announcement on? So Bob will be coming up here. Bob's by far, Bob's the chairman of not only of the Sumter Democratic DEC office, but a couple other counties. So he's definitely risen to the occasion. And this is a man that does a lot of travel.
Good morning, Democrats. Good morning. As you know, Deb Ferris is chair of Sumter now. I'm chair of the Small County Coalition. We are collecting candidate petitions for Ronnie. Because of the mid-decade redistricting, any registered voter in Florida can sign candidate petitions. In Florida, you can either write a big check or collect petitions. We would prefer to save our fundraising to actually do campaigning stuff. So we tried to grab everybody on the way in. If we missed you, we have a couple of people kind of going around. We have more candidate petitions in the front. Thank you all very much. Keep up the good work.
Obviously, you've seen it in the TV media, and all I can say is that over the past 12 hours, we have just been inundated with requests for communications about what is the club, what can we do as citizens to say there's something truly, truly wrong. And I just wanted to say that we're somewhat in a fluid situation. And what I mean by that is that we are reacting ourselves, but we've come out with very good ideas, very good actions. And with that, as one of the board members of the club, I'd like to introduce Harold Kramer, who will give us an update as far as the events that are occurring in the very, very near future.
I hope you're still applauding me at the end. So anyway, Bill said I'm Harold Kramer. I've been a board member for
All right, can you hear me now?
Stop hearing me, just speak up. I've been a board member for the Democratic Club for about a year. Okay, so I've been a member for about a year. Okay, so as Bill said, there's a lot of fluidity right now in our country and in our politics and our personal safety. So as a club and as another group, we're organizing rallies. One rally is on Monday, the 12th, at 10 o'clock at Lake Sumter. And it's going to be similar to all the rallies we've had. It's going to be more impromptu, not formally planned. It's not just show up. So as many of you as possible, can you get out on Monday morning at 10 a.m. at Lake Sumter? Bring your golf cart. Don't park at Aldi's. As we've learned the hard way. And just go out and make your presence felt. Just the sheer number of people. Doesn't matter if you have a sign, don't have a sign, what your sign says. Numbers are important. And it gets national attention. Particularly the Villages, which is known to be a MAGA area, and more non-MAGA people that show up better. Okay, so if you're like me, you must all feel a lot of outrage at what's going on. Every day you wake up to new horrors, more shootings, more countries being invaded. Just a lot of bad things going on. I think we all agree. So the key thing is to do something. To show up at the rallies, volunteer with the Democratic County Party, volunteer here at the Villages Democratic Club. Just donate money, do something. What I go by is this slogan: silence is complicity. If you're silent, you're complicit. Maybe you don't mean to be complicit, but silence is what MAGA wants. They want to overwhelm us with this awfulness, so we can't speak up. And also, like I'm doing this with my grandkids. I want to be able to tell my grandkids, when this awfulness happened back in the 2020s, what did you do, Grandpa? What did you do? Like, I did everything I could. I want to leave a legacy for my grandkids. And I think that's what motivates me more than anything else.
Can you read what he said?
And then, what is too much to ignore? We got the ice raids, the awfulness that happened. Okay, so why is too much to ignore? Ice raids. The Venezuela invasion, the so-called Don Rowe doctrine, which is basically allowing MAGA to control the whole Western Hemisphere, Greenland, Colombia, Mexico, and this is what's going on. Epstein. No one's talking about Epstein anymore. So I would conclude that all this has gone on since the Epstein files, or part of them were released. A lot of it's due to distract us from. What's that? So I'm glad a lot of you feel my outrage, I can tell. So, and I'm sorry I burst out because I'm so outraged at what's going on in this world, and the fact that you are trying to pay attention is very encouraging to what's going on. So, anyway, so the club is hosting a week from Tuesday 2 rallies, one so-called north, one in the south. So the northern one is a typical spot at Lake Sumter area, and the southern one is by Marsh Bend and Everglades. So there's information, the yellow flyers. Everybody has a yellow flyer. So there's information in the yellow flyer about these rallies, but and then we have another rally Monday, like I said, at 10 o'clock at Lake Sumter. Bring signs. We have signs here for you to take, and we'll hand them out later. Bring water, bring chairs, bring your golf cart, decorate your golf carts, and show your support for the good guys. Remember, just show up in numbers. Numbers mean a lot. Clever signs are great too. Okay, so anyway, a lot of information on the yellow flyer, and more rallies will be held throughout the year and throughout the next 3 years as opposition to what's going on builds up. Hopefully, we get a lot of support in the midterms and we can turn to Congress and act with that. And like I said, get involved. We all need help writing postcards to voters. You can visit other locations throughout Central Florida. So if there's no rally here, there's a rally in Ocala or Citrus County, anywhere. Feel free to go anywhere to show your concern. So the rally on Mondays is not hosted by this club, it's hosted by Villages for Democracy, and with more information on the website, which is the Facebook website, not the website, the Facebook page for that. And let's see. So you can for more information, feel free to contact me or any member of the club. I promise I'll speak louder if you talk to me in person. And then, anyway, I just want to say we should all stay informed, and not by Fox News, of course, but by reliable sites. There's a lot of information out there that's factually based, not historically based. Be active, get involved, be kind. You know, a MAGA person who's here in the supermarket starts saying stuff you know is not true. Just sort of ignore it or smile. Don't be confrontational. Smile through pain as much as you can, but stay focused.
Thank you, Harold. Harold was found out he was going to be a speaker about 10 minutes before the meeting started. It's a fluid situation. We prepare about 5 days before these meetings, have all the slides put together, and we have a particular focus on what we're trying to communicate or what our subject is. And I'm going to hand it to Rick, who takes care of all the presentations. We went out until 1 o'clock last night. They restarted at 5. In that time period, one of our major speakers today had to cancel out because they're having a rally in Claremont, in addition to other things. So that's what I mean by people having to adjust very quickly to the situation. So I appreciate your patience with us, and we'll continue to plug ahead. Like I said, we had a presentation set up. I will just mention that I'll try to pick that up on the backside of this meeting, simply because I believe the topic that when we made the arrangements for speakers, we are about a month or two ahead of time. And what we didn't realize that when Marilyn Holleran volunteered to be a speaker, we said, okay, can you do it in January? Marilyn's background is in the it's in the foreign service operations. She's been in the embassies in, I believe, Russia,
Yeah.
Turkey. She'll give a lowdown on it, but it's very impressive. And at the time we made this arrangement, we had no idea that there's a country that the United States was going to be invading. That's Venezuela. So with that in mind, we said, okay, it's really important to have her talk and move her up front. So anyway, with that, I would like to invite her to come on up and.
Okay, everybody. I've been here before. You may remember I was running for office for SD11, so I think I came and spoke to you guys once or twice. I'm really happy to be in this room surrounded by a whole bunch of people wearing blue. And who are actively involved in trying to actually make America great again. So let me just tell you, let me pick up on the introduction. So I served for 13 and a half years in the Foreign Service, which means I was a diplomat, which shocked some of the people who know me really well. So, but I did learn tact. Okay, so that's good. So anyway, I served in embassies and consulates overseas in Astana, Kazakhstan. Who's heard of Kazakhstan? All right. That's because you watched the Borat movie. I was actually in Kazakhstan when that movie came out, and there was like a UN General Assembly meeting, and the president of Kazakhstan wanted 15 minutes with President Bush to complain about how did America let this movie get made. And that was a perfect, it's like, well, you know, you can make any kind of movie you want to. The government doesn't control movies, so that may not be true anymore. So anyway, Astana, Kazakhstan, and then after that, Ankara, Turkey, which I loved. Lahore, Pakistan, which I didn't love as much. And then St. Petersburg, Russia, which was just unbelievable, unbelievable. And I got to see in person how short Putin is. And then after Russia, I did 2 years in Chennai, South India, and then I did 2 years at the Foreign Service Institute in Arlington, Virginia, working as a curriculum developer and a trainer. And then I went back to Ankara, Turkey for my last tour, where we were working on Syria, actually. The whole Syrian civil war was still going on. We were helping to do reconstruction work in northwest Syria, which had been freed from the regime. And then Donald Trump decided it was stupid to be in Syria, so we had a small amount of US troops there who were working with the Kurdish military, who were actually the people fighting ISIS. So we abandoned them, and the Russians took over that base in 18 seconds. And that was it for me. I'm like, why am I doing this? I'm complicit with the foreign policy of this monster in the White House. So I turned 62 on a Tuesday, I retired on Friday, we had a monster party on Saturday, and I was on the airplane on Sunday. So that was late 2018. So I've been retired since then, and it's fabulous. I will always be a foreign policy nerd, so I love doing speeches like this. So let me tell you about the horrific things that have happened to the State Department and what that means for our nation's foreign policy. First off, everybody who works for the federal government takes an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. Nobody takes an oath to the president or to the general or admiral who's in charge of that branch of the military. It's all about the Constitution, which I believe nobody in the executive branch has read. I always carry a copy of the Constitution in my purse so I can have arguments with the, anyway. So, it hasn't read the cliff notes to the Constitution, that's it exactly. So anyway, the State Department enacts the policy that the president and his cabinet set for the State Department to do. The State Department gives advice on what they think the policy should be. I am betting that everybody except Marco Rubio in the State Department is horrified by the Venezuela thing, okay? So my first thought was, so if we could go into Venezuela and kidnap the leader, can't we have somebody do that? There'll be nobody waiting in our driveway when I get home. So anyway, the State Department doesn't make policy, it enacts the policy, the State Department gives advice on policy. So here's what has happened over the last year. The first thing that happened was Elon Musk destroyed USAID, which was the development branch of the executive branch. USAID is most well known for feeding people in refugee camps, providing medical aid, providing medicine, providing the infrastructure for tent camps for refugees, so the tents, the blankets, the big water buckets and all that other kind of stuff is from USAID. But USAID did a lot more than that. And here's two things that they used to do that nobody's doing anymore, which most people didn't know. So one of them is tracking diseases in less developed countries like Ebola, like COVID, to try to stop it before it gets to the United States. So that was the first line of defense against like really icky, terrible, awful diseases. Well, that's gone now. By the time a disease gets to the United States, it's too late to stop it because it's here. The other thing that USAID did that I found interesting was they monitor crop diseases. So they have saved like the wheat crop, and these are food crops, from various and sundry parasites and fungal infections and stuff so that people can eat. All of this has been taken away. And they moved what little bit is left of foreign assistance to an office in the State Department. Marco Rubio has made it clear he doesn't care about foreign assistance, so I don't know what they'll do. Russia, for example, threw out USAID years ago. Another thing that USAID did, and I think this is the real reason that Trump wanted to get rid of it, was they taught democracy to other countries who were trying, like they would help write a constitution for a country. They would help train like the judicial system. They would teach about no corruption, right? All that other kind of stuff. So that, that is something Trump didn't like. So Elon Musk got his, chainsaw, and they took the name of the agency off the building, Okay, so anyway, there are statistics out that say because the food and medicine aid is gone, that, wait, I wrote it down. 700,000 people, mostly children, have already died since USAID went away. And the prediction is, in the next 5 years, 14 million people will die because we took away USAID. So USAID wasn't part of the State Department, it was its own agency, but we worked together all the time, hand in hand. So now let me talk about the State Department and the Foreign Service, because that's really what I'm here for. But before I do that, let me tell you a couple other things, unrelated to the Foreign Service. When you guys go to the next protest, start up one of those say her name chants, so that it's Robin Hood, right? And this woman was murdered, she wasn't just killed. So we need everybody driving by in the car with their MAGA bumper sticker, make sure they know her name. Two other things. One is, for those of you who go online and subscribe to things, one is the Contrarian, okay, and the other is Chop Wood, Carry Water. Okay. So Chop Wood, Carry Water, they're both on Substack, but they also do email stuff. And they're both of those subscriptions are following very closely what's going on. The Contrarian is more concerned with the law and the legal cases, and Chop Wood, Carry Water just talks about the protests and using the 5 calls application on your phone, or you can make 5 calls every single day. And they give you scripts for what to say to your senator or congressman when things go stupid. Okay. So first off, the State Department overseas is staffed by Foreign Service officers. There are very few of them. They just ripped 250 of them, which was a deep cut for us. We've always said that there are less Foreign Service officers than there are people in the military bands, right? So. And Foreign Affairs takes less than 1% of the yearly budget in the United States. So cutting that makes no effect on the debt or the yearly budget. It's a rounding error. It's a really small number. So to get into the Foreign Service, just so you know, it's quite a difficult thing, and it was all very nonpartisan. You took a test. that asked about your knowledge of the Constitution, what you know about the rest of the world, like, what's the capital of Azerbaijan? No? Baku. There you go. What do you know about computers? The State Department was woefully behind on technology. Like, what does the escape key do? And then, stuff about management, and you had to write an essay. They didn't care what you wrote the essay on. They just wanted to see that you could write. The State Department's very into writing, because what we all do for a living is write cables. So you have to pass this test, which the year I took it, in 2003, 30,000 people signed up to take the test, the test that I took. 7,000 people passed that test, and if you pass the written exam, we call it, you get invited to an oral exam with like 8 to 10 other people, and you do team exercises and all this kind of woo-woo stuff, write a few more essays, you do like, how would you manage this human resources situation, blah, 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 blah. So, of the group of 8 people that I was with, including me, only 2 of us passed that test. And then they do, you have to do you get a medical clearance and you get a security clearance, so I had a top secret clearance. Woohoo! And that winnows it down even more, people who are not qualified for a security clearance. So my starting class, remember we started out with 30,000 people, was 98 folks. So it's hard, and I'm really proud of that, and I really never thought I would actually pass that first test. And then I passed the second test, and I was like, ooh, this may actually happen. My parents were like, you want to do what? All right, so it's difficult to get in. And if you get in, it means you are dedicated to doing this. This is a lifestyle. This isn't a job. You're going to change your location every 1, 2, or 3 years. You're going to get taught languages that you'll forget as soon as you don't need to use them. You're going to work with a zillion different people. Every time you move to a different post, it's a different group of people. You make friends, then you move, and then you have to make new friends. I mean, this is not like, oh, I live in the Villages and I've been here for 12 years, okay? So, these people, including me, are serious. We're serious about this. All right, so the system is also an up and out system. So there's more people at the bottom of the pyramid than there are up at the top. So there are people who don't get promoted and they have to leave the service. So up at the top are ambassadors. These are career foreign service people who've been in for 30, 40 years, have worked in many different countries, speak many different languages, are true diplomats. It always used to be that, well, it still is, that a president can appoint anybody he wants to be an ambassador. So a lot of those we call political appointees are people who raised a lot of money for his campaign or friends or other things. And previously, 70% of the ambassadors were career foreign service officers and 30% were political appointees. Now, 80% are political appointees. So what do these people know about diplomacy? Nothing. They know about real estate, or they know about raising money, or they know about Bitcoin, or whatever. And so the question we always used to ask about this business about political appointees is, would you put a political appointee as the captain of an aircraft carrier? No, right? So why would you do it? But we track, we have kind of a professional association that tracks that. Now Trump just recalled 30 ambassadors who are on active duty, who are all career foreign service officers. And this is highly unusual. Every time the administration changes, every single ambassador submits their letter of retirement, or their letter of I quit, all right? And then the president gets to pick. No, you stay, okay, you're gone, you stay, you're gone, da 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 da. So he did that. He did that in January 2024. And to do it in the middle of a term is really highly unusual. So he removed ambassadors in Africa, in Southeast Asia, in Latin America. He removed the ambassador to Colombia, which, since we now want to take over the whole continent, and Guatemala is one of the major migration places where people immigrate to the United States from Guatemala because there's been a drought there for a really long time, and they can't feed their families, so they come to the U.S. Anyway, he offed that ambassador. There hasn't been any news about who is going to get these 30 vacant positions. And so that, to have an embassy without an ambassador is tough. All right, because the government wants to talk only to the ambassador or to the higher level folks. So if those are gone, you lose contacts that they've made. These people have been in the Foreign Service for a really long time. They have really excellent experience, and what he's just done is he's thrown out hundreds of years of experience because he doesn't care. Okay, so yeah, the recent recall, I said that. So the whole thing with the Foreign Service is experience on the ground. So you get in, you get trained to go to your first country, and then it's kind of like on-the-job training. Because there isn't really a class for diplomacy, So they teach us some skills based on what kind of Foreign Service officer you are. I was a management officer, so I always said that my group kept the lights on. But I also had to deal with host country issues about privileges and immunities and all this other kind of stuff. So they would teach you a little bit about that. But then it's like the ambassador says, go talk to this person over in this administrative office. It's like, so you just, and to throw that away is really not good. So let's talk about, here's another thing that we've heard has changed. It's kind of a rumor. Now, Foreign Service officers coming in to the Foreign Service and the State Department have to take a loyalty oath to President Trump, which just goes against everything. And if you don't take the oath, you're out. Now, I don't know when they want you to take that oath. The State Department has stopped talking to our professional association, which was kind of like a union, but they used to negotiate for us about what does a Foreign Service officer have to achieve to get promoted and those kind of things. And they're just not speaking to that association anymore. So the loyalty oath thing is really scary. The current activities in the world are really scary. Let's start with Venezuela, okay? That was always about drugs. It's drugs. They're narco-terrorists. Oh my God, we're going to kill 100 people in little tiny boats that were certainly not going to deliver drugs to the United States of America. Without any notification to Congress, without any acceptance or okay from Congress. And now that they've actually gone and kidnapped the president and his wife, now suddenly it's about oil. And he's gonna browbeat the oil companies into going back to Venezuela. We used to have American oil companies in Venezuela. Venezuela nationalized the oil business. So when he talks about they stole our oil, okay, it's not our oil, it's underground in Venezuela, for God's sakes. Most of the oil companies left. Chevron is still there. So if you want to make a statement, you could have a little protest in front of a Chevron gas station, if you wanted to. So now suddenly this is about oil. The president is going to run the country. Okay, nobody knows what that means. He left the vice president in charge, not our vice president, the Venezuelan vice president in charge in Venezuela, and she's on the same side of Maduro, who's the guy we went and kidnapped. So did we change the government in any way, shape, or form? No. Is she going to cooperate with the United States? Only under duress, right? Because she's still, Maduro's our elected president. Now, he stole the election, we all know that, but it's, so did Donald Trump. So anyway, now the State Department we did not have an embassy in Venezuela, so there were no Foreign Service officers on the ground in Venezuela to say, oh my God, don't do this, right? If someone in the Foreign Service completely and totally disagrees with the policy of the president, they can write what's called a dissent cable, which is supposed to not cause any retribution, but you're allowed to express your opinion and say, I think this is wrong. For example, I think this is wrong because we just broke all sorts of international laws, right? And so they can write that. It goes up the chain in the State Department, and then, you know, the Secretary of State just throw it away. Or if it's deeply meaningful, they can discuss it. You're not supposed to get fired for doing that, though I'm sure if anybody wrote a dissent cable about this, they were fired. But I don't know that happened. So what else is he doing? He pulled the ambassadors out of several countries in Southeast Asia. And as you know, China has always thought that Taiwan is part of China. So does this open the door for China to snatch the elected leader of Taiwan? I mean, right? It sets an example. Does this open the door for Putin to just, you know, kill Zelensky and take over Ukraine? Sure, you know. We've been so bad to Ukraine with this whole thing. Yeah, and I'm sure there's been, he recalled, well, he fired, but in the Foreign Service we call it recalled, the ambassador to Ukraine when all of this started, because she was helping the people with the demonstrations against the folks that stole the election. And so she went home. She works at Georgetown University now, which is probably better. When Trump started looking at the State Department to see who he could get rid of, the way he did it was not based on merit. It wasn't like, oh, this guy isn't that great an officer, we'll get rid of him. What he did was he got rid of everybody that was working on diversity, inclusion, equality, we had an office for DEI, that he closed that office. Those Foreign Service officers got riffed, reduction in force. He closed the office that deals with population, refugees, and migration, because that did not serve the best interests of the government. So those people got riffed. He closed those kind of offices. He put a 23-year-old loyalist in charge of the HR department in the State Department. Now, HR runs like 170,000 people between the Americans and all of the foreign staff that work for us overseas, and they put this 23-year-old guy in charge. Well, there was an amazing response to that. He just left. He thought he was promised a really cushy job, and they offered him a less cushy job, and he quit. Yay. It used to be that you got reviewed as a Foreign Service officer. You got reviewed every year, and that was what they used to see if you should be promoted or not. Excuse me. There used to be a DEI requirement in that review, like how did this officer support the notion of diversity and inclusion and equality? And so they pulled that out of the evaluation standard, and then went back and looked at recent evaluations where folks didn't do that well, so they didn't get promoted, and they promoted them. So there's been this kind of hands-on screwing around with the people who work in the State Department, and then there's been this tremendous effort to just kind of make everybody else in the world hate our guts, okay? I had a friend who was posted in Greenland. She's like, oh my God. Now, Greenland, every place is strategic in some way, shape, or form. He wants Greenland because of the minerals underground, and the ice sheet on Greenland is melting kind of rapidly, exposing more and more and more of the actual dirt that you could dig in and get whatever minerals these are. Plus, Greenland is right on the edge of like the Arctic Passage, And now the ice up there is melting enough. You've all seen the really sad pictures of polar bears standing on this little tiny piece of ice, you know. So the ice is melting up there, which means shipping can get through. And there's a big race for who's going to control those sea lanes. So that's the other reason he wants Greenland. Now he's yelling at Mexico because Mexico is the place all the refugees have to go through to get to our southern border. Let me just say parenthetically here, there are legal ways to get to be a citizen of the United States of America, and it is legal, or it was, until very recently, it was legal to approach an immigration officer at the border and ask for asylum. And then you were just set free in the country because there's a 8 or 9 or 10 year long backlog to actually see an immigration judge, right? So some of these people that ICE is rounding up now are actually here in what were legal circumstances, but no longer are, okay? And if you may recall, during the last election, previous to the election in 2024, the House and the Senate had agreed on, or were working to agree on, an overhaul of our immigration system, and Trump told them to stop. Because he wanted a campaign on how bad immigration was. So we could, there's many times we could have fixed this. The Democrats are just as bad about it as the Republicans because it's a hot issue, and you get to point your fingers at the other guy and say, we have great immigration policy, it wasn't for them, you know. So that, and you know, I worked as a visa officer, I did visa interviews for people that come as tourists. Now he wants people from the African countries to make like a $15,000 deposit to come to Disney World, right? Or to see their family someplace. So that's terrible. Plus he's banned, I think now it's 30 some odd countries from even coming, right? No visas for you. So some of the African nations are saying, well, no visas for America, which, all right, who wants to go to Mali anyway? So I don't know that that makes that big a dent. But a ton of people come to the United States for tourism, not anymore. So that's some of the damage that the current president has done to the State Department, to the Foreign Service, to our reputation overseas. This thing with Greenland is going to kill NATO. If he puts military, now we have a military base there, which really is all we need, okay? And Biden established diplomatic relations. I mean, it's a part of Denmark, and we have an embassy in Denmark, and Denmark is part of NATO. If we invade Greenland, does that activate Article 5, which is the one that says all NATO members must respond to, you know, an invasion? That's why all those people helped us after 9/11. So, I mean, NATO needs some improvement, but, you know, it's the best alliance we have. Those people were all our friends. Were. They're mad at us. They're mad at us now, and many European nations are getting together to come up with some sort of response. So, okay, I have babbled on enough. Who has questions? Yes, sir, right here.
Was your systems engineering background at all beneficial in your foreign services?
So the question is, so I was a systems engineer for like 25 years or so, worked for a variety of computer and internet companies before I threw it all away and joined the Foreign Service and took a 50% cut in pay. Anyway, so my systems engineering background did come in handy because I was fluent in computer, okay? And I joined in 2005 during the Bush administration, and Colin Powell was the Secretary of State. Colin Powell was the one who put computers on everybody's desk. Okay, in 2005, you had to go to a locked room to use a computer because the department was just so nervous. Oh my God, computers! They'll be sending German chocolate cake recipes all around the world, you know. So yeah, that was helpful. There is a whole segment of the Foreign Service that does technology, that runs the computers in the office, runs the classified computers in the woo-woo part of the embassy, and that kind of stuff. So as a management officer, those computer folks worked for me, and they couldn't get anything past me, right? Sir?
I was thinking from a thinking perspective as opposed to a technical.
Yeah, so like logic and logistics is my bag, okay? I had the opportunity once to be the management officer for a presidential visit. The president comes with 700 of his closest friends and an ambulance, right? And the car, the beast, and getting accommodations for all these people. We did crazy things for President Obama came to visit India while I was there. We had to go, and he wanted to go to the Taj Mahal, right? As a personal trip, like I'll do my business with the Prime Minister, and then Michelle and I want to go see the Taj Mahal. So I was in charge of the Taj Mahal part of this. We had to go, there's a little airport there, and we had to go, the Air Force came, and they measured the load that that runway could hold to see if Air Force One could land there. So putting together a checklist for a presidential visit requires like the step by step by step thinking. If this is gonna happen, then I need to do this and this and this before. So I learned to do that in the Foreign Service, and it's one of my favorite things. Like I'm helping an organization I belong to straighten out how they have 250 people in their hall for dinner, because they just did New Year's Eve and it was very chaotic, right? They wrote up a list of how to do that. So yeah, the step-by-step thinking about computers and logic, very handy. Very handy. Anybody else? In the back there, sir.
Just, when they come for these visits, obviously the locals have to get involved in a lot of that security. Does the United States reimburse them for that labor, for the police, military, et cetera, et cetera?
Not directly, right? So we're not handing out envelopes full of cash to the people who work at the host government providing some important services. Now, we bring our own security guys, right? The Secret Service comes, and they're in charge of security, so the police mostly work on crowd control and traffic. So they can stop the red lights so that the motorcade can breeze right through. The motorcade is like 12 or 15 vehicles. It's really quite impressive. So they get spiffed in some other way, like dinner, maybe, that kind of stuff. And then there's local staff at the embassy or consulate who's handling this, who coordinate with all the locals on this kind of stuff.
The reason I asked, I'm former law enforcement.
Okay.
I've been involved in some of the presidential visits in Wisconsin, and it's a tremendous drain on manpower. They require a lot of police officers.
Yes.
And for a foreign country, some of these countries, I imagine security has to be even tighter. And the Secret Service can only bring a finite number.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So I was just interested, in what our demands are on another country when we do that.
When we do that, so
Help them out at all.
there's also
It's gotta be taxing.
there's also a staffing position at every embassy and consulate that's called the RSO, the Regional Security Officer. And they're in charge of our security as we work at the embassy or consulate, and they are in charge of the local guard staff. So we get help from them also. And clearly, we're working with the host government's law enforcement group, because probably we've also trained them in some way, shape, or form for drug enforcement stuff. One of the things we've done is trained drug dogs and have given them to a variety of foreign countries to sniff for drugs in cars and stuff. So we're very involved in local law enforcement. Over here. Hi.
Hi. This week I have vacillated between fury and depression, and after listening to you, it's now despair.
Okay. I'm really sorry about that.
I know. Is there any light ahead? What? Yes.
Yeah, so, previous folks have talked about, do something, right? Michelle Obama was like, do something. The protests, there's this political science theory about if 3.5% of the population gets out in the street, the government, the dictator will fall. And that gal has proof of that in other countries, but I'm not really sure that would work here. Sadly, all we can do right now is say no. Say no with your money. Like, don't shop. I stopped buying from Amazon because of Jeff Bezos. I canceled my subscription to the New York Times. Well, because they were whitewashing some of Trump's activities because they were afraid of the blowback. And I think there was also a settlement. There was a pretty large, couple $1 million settlement that he sued the Times for some ridiculous thing, and they gave him money just to make him go away. So I'm involved in politics, as you know, because I ran for office. I'm involved in politics in Pasco County, where I live, and there's an organization there called Pasco Resists, and they protest at least once a month. There's a protest today that I'm sure will turn into about the murder in Minneapolis. And we stand on street corners, we wave signs, we wave at cars, we get happy signs and beeps from some people, and then we get the bird from others, and we blow them kisses. Right? Just to make them feel stupid, I'm not into you have to talk to your MAGA friends and listen to them from their point of view and see what they're scared about. No. You can't, they're in a cult, you can't change their mind. So, we have to do this. We have to overthrow the government, that's what we have to do.
Right here.
We have to vote.
Oh, well, we have to vote. Yeah, okay, so the 2026 elections are our chance to take Congress back and to put some Democrats in Congress with balls, okay? Because Congress has totally, I'll get to you, honey. Congress has totally abdicated their responsibility for everything, and the Democrats are concerned. So everybody needs to grow a spine, grow a pair, be loud. I think we should start, like the day after the 2026 elections, I think there's going to be a big swing. The Democrats have won like 90, either won or overperformed in like 90% of all the special elections and other elections since. Telling somebody something, right? Like every single congressman is up for, or congressperson is up for re-election this year. 1/3 of the Senate is up for election this year. If we win those races, we win, right? And we impeach him, and then he goes to jail. Wait, I'm going to do this now first.
Yeah, I just want to finish. I was going to say vote, but we also need to, as a group, help our other fellow Democrats vote and register, enroll, and vote by mail. We have a problem where a lot of Democrats just don't vote. We need to get them to vote. So and we can't just vote ourselves and say we're done. We have to help the people who don't vote. We have to help them vote, the Democrats.
So what you all need to do is join the Democratic Executive Committee in your county, right? Because that's the official Democratic Party in the county. And they will run voter registration drives and vote by mail stuff and chase, like, we sent an email to a bunch of people who aren't registered for vote by mail, and we sent them an email 3 times, and now we're going to chase them, like, did you do it, did you do it, did you do it, okay? And then you have to get them to actually go, mail the thing in, or better yet, drop it off, okay? So, honey, you in the back. Okay.
I remember taking an oath of allegiance associated with my enlistment in the United States Army. However, your communication about taking an oath to the president of this country would seem like it ought to have every attorney that has something to say and the gumption to stand up and be counted to take this terrorist dictator on.
Yes. So, if you subscribe to the Contrarian, that's, it's headed by a gal who resigned from the Washington Post based on the Washington Post's attitude towards how great the president was. And they have a pack of lawyers, a pack of really good lawyers who I think right now the count is they're on 90 lawsuits against various things in the government. And they win them in district court, and then they win them in federal court, and then sadly, the Supreme Court, which, let's face it, is bought and paid for, overturns it. So, there needs to be some changes to the Supreme Court. No, we're not gonna do that, but it's a thought, you know. Okay, who else? Is there somebody here? Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering, coming off of the next election's coming up, and if he can be removed, and how long would it take to replace the State Department? With the people perhaps that were in office before?
I think that when a real human being is running the State Department again, that, because remember, this is little Marco, right? We hated him when he was a senator. He's not any better as the Secretary of State. And Cuba will be next, just so everybody knows. So there may be a notion of asking to rehire the folks that were riffed or that were forced into retirement. I mean, a ton of people took that first retirement offer and left because they could see what was coming. So that's one thing, to regain the experience that those people had. Other than that, it's going to take decades, because when you join the State Department as a Foreign Service officer, you come in at the bottom of the pyramid, and you have to work your way up with your experience, and replacing that, that's going to take, it took me 12 years to get to the step right before the top of the pyramid. So it's a non-trivial amount of time.
Question here?
Here? Yes.
Hi. Just wondering, what if this dictator decides to cancel elections?
Oh, there's that.
Where do we go from there?
Yeah. So, and this is scary, because he has said, to the Republicans, if we lose the midterms, I'm going to be impeached. And they are changing the rules about postmarks at the post office, because vote-by-mail ballots were always valid if they were, as long as they were postmarked the day of the election. And the postmark comes as soon as you hand it in, right? Now they're changing the rules, and the postmark doesn't come until they actually process that piece of mail, which means it could be after the election, which means your vote won't count. So he's jimmying around with election stuff. I mean, Ron DeSantis canceled the notion that your vote-by-mail request was good for life, right? Now you have to renew it every election cycle. Unless you're a politics nerd, you don't know that, right? So the campaign that we did earlier this year for State Senate District 11 for a special election, people were like, oh no, I have vote-by-mail. And you're doing this on a text, right? And they text back, no, I got that. I signed up for it like 4 years ago. And it's like, no, you don't have it, So the governor's been very careful about, and he's been pretty strategic about, he did this thing and then never told anybody. So people would be disenfranchised. Who else?
One more question.
Just one more question? Okay, the lady in pink there.
I would just like to comment, I'm a former career civil servant, and every agency has been impacted by this. I work for 2 different agencies, and I work for an agency that was the touchstone for all agencies in the federal government. And the things that agency has been decimated. And they also went in and sent 18-year-olds to be in charge of an agency. And what ended up happening with the people that were sent home, they realized after afterwards, they had to call them back.
Yes.
Because I work for GSA, which
Okay.
is the largest landlord in the world.
Yep.
And they had nobody to turn on the lights.
Yep.
So, but that agency has also been decimated. The entire mission of the agency
Yeah.
has changed.
Well, I mean, the Department of Education went away. The Environmental Protection Agency is now in the oil business. It's hard. I'm talking about the State Department because that's where my experience is. But like everybody who worked for the federal government has been affected by this because they've changed the head count so much that the people who still work there can't do their work. And a lot of the work, especially in the State Department, it was congressionally required. You must do a human rights report every 2 or 3 years for the country that you're in. Well, okay, Trump doesn't care about the human rights record, but Congress mandated that report. So people are scrabbling to do that because the person who used to do it isn't there anymore. I have to go, right?
Yes.
I have to go.
Marilyn, we definitely will invite you back another time. Thank you so much for sharing your extensive experience. A couple administrative things lost and found. Somebody lost a button, or what do you call this thing? Yeah, anyway, we have here. From last meeting, is a hood, black hood, woman's coat sort of thing, kind of nice. We also have a, what is this? Johnny Wild. Anybody here is Johnny Wild? We got a double X. And this is actual found today. Look familiar? Anybody? Okay. Anyway, okay. So I'll have it up here in the front. What I wanted to mention about it, remember about 2 months ago, we had we were going to be doing a golf cart drive to mail in the ballot. And we handed out golf cart decoration materials, all right? Included in it were some nice bunting, okay? And what we did is we put them in packages. We now include an American flag in here. That way you can decorate your golf cart, all right? Now, why is that important? Because we also have signs now for those golf carts. You might see 1 or 2 of them that are up here, all right? You need large ones, okay? We need them because they can be seen from quite a distance. And the neat thing about them, they're on paper clips, so you can take them, put it on, take it off whenever you want to. So whatever you feel comfortable having the sign on the golf cart, it's a great way to, express what's going on. Is anybody here planning on being at this coming? The first rally will be, sign rally, will be this Monday, the 12th. Okay? Anybody going to be there? Show up with your golf cart dressed up. Have the sign on the back. And I learned a little bit of a new trick. You can use this sign and have this holder for it, okay? And now we have an instant sign holder. Okay? We have the signs, we have plenty of these signs here, and we have plenty of the golf cart decoration kits. They're free for your taking. Thank you for being a member of the club. I also want to mention that we have a limited number of the, we are here for our grandchildren, okay? And I'm going to ask Harold, anybody here would like to have one of those signs? We have a limited number. I just didn't want to open it up and run on them real quick. So if Harold can if anybody wants one of the grandkids signs, please raise your hands. Okay? And Harold, if you can hand them out, ration them out the best you can. And when I was mentioning about all the emails that were going around at 1 o'clock and then 5 o'clock today, the real leader on this has been Lorraine. Bill and Lorraine, thank you very much for making this possible. Because he's the one that put this 100 on the ground so the 20th that's going to be coming up. So she's done an excellent job, and she has really a Go Get 'em Tigers team. Very impressive. So with that in mind, I just want to, keep your hands up if you want the signs. I do have a list. We are going to be ordering more signs. We didn't realize, when we go to order these, we try to figure out how many are going to be needed, okay? And I can tell you that this sign is a very popular one. We will be having more of them. So if you want to, just grab a blue one for today. We will come back in with some more of the other signs here with the grandkids. That sign, by the way, came about from one of the folks at a sign rally. She had it on a handwritten sign. We liked it so much, we turned it into our sign. And I don't know if she's with the club or not, but it just stuck. Okay. So anyway, that's one of the reasons we went with that one. We plan on having more signs as time goes along. So if you have any particular item or idea that will work out real well, please let us know. So anyway, many thanks to us. We'll wait for you as possible. So with that in mind, feel free to come up. We have the signs here. We have the golf cart decorations.